WRQX Washington, a Cumulus station.
Hi, this is Adele.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
DC's best music mix.
This is my music, my radio station.
Mix 107.3.
Jack Diamond Morning Show in Washington, D.C. on Mix 107.3. It's 6 a.m. Good morning. It's time to start the Jack Diamond Morning... What?
It's Groundhog Day.
It is Groundhog Day, Erica, isn't it?
We'll get it right.
It's Jimmy Alexander.
Hello.
Erica Hillary.
Hi.
Producer Blair.
That's
the lovely Lisa Ann rolling the multi-camera Facebook Live video for us today. Listen, thank you. First of all, thank you for checking us out tonight. Thanks for listening.
Tonight.
Right now,
Yeah.
this very moment. For the past 40 years, this frequency, 107.3 in Washington, has been a contemporary radio station. If you listened earlier today, we had a remarkable show between 6 and 9 because of the guests.
Yeah.
An incredible array of talent, including Joe Cipriano, Barbara Britt, who is my first co-host, along with a great jock named Mike Moore, who's a big shot at Entercom, and one day we hope gives us a job. By the way, did I tell you what our hashtag for the night is?
Please.
We need work. Hashtag we need work. Use it.
Right.
Use it.
The hashtag for the
I
night.
like it.
It should be hashtag hire the JDMS. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
Retweet.
Rick Fowler, Uncle Johnny, Dude Walker, and Doug Limerick. First time they've been together in studio in 37 years, I
Yeah,
think.
37.
We also had Elliot and Woodside, an incredibly successful and popular morning show here and at WPGC. In fact, Dude and Doug and see, you know the mistake we made?
What is that, JD?
We should have had another morning team that we kept trading places with because these guys kept upping their contracts.
Yes.
Every time they crossed the street,
Yeah.
they made more money.
Explain what crossing the street means, JD.
When you go from one station in a market to another station in the market in the same format, and,
Yes.
with the hope that if people like what you do, they'll follow you.
Yeah.
And, people go back and forth and do this. Some friends of ours in San Diego have made a career of it. They
please.
just keep going back and forth. Cecily Nobler, our friend Lou Katz, Jenny Stepanek, Joe Theismann, Phone Girl Layla returned to the show along with Jeff Shamrock, one of our former producers, and their beautiful baby. Bilingual Allie was in studio with us. Comedian Bob Marley, who I think holds the record for appearances, 20, 22 on our show. Chili Amar works with Toby over at Wash. Great people, and Chili, a friend of ours, a family member. I mean, tears all the way around. I gave Chili this bottle of Dom as a little gift, a little prize. Whoever could come closest to guessing the date Connor would be born. At that point, he was known as Baby Cloud when Lisa was pregnant, sort of a work in progress. And Chili guessed closest to the date Connor was born, which was May 13th, Mother's Day. So Chili won the Dom. And she said through her life
What year was that she won that?
91, because Connor was born in 91.
Not 2001.
I'm sorry, 2001.
Wow.
Jeez. So this was a 92 Dom Perignon.
Look at that.
Wonderful bottle of... why didn't we finish this earlier?
I don't know. Chug it.
Here,
Chug,
let me
chug,
pass this
chug.
over here.
Lack of insanity.
So anyway, long story short, all the things in Chili's life,
Yeah, girl.
she saved it for this moment. She had no idea why. She's had her own children. She got married, bought houses, and she saved it. And somehow it
Incredible.
So, Chili, thanks so much. Mark Roberge, lead singer-songwriter for OAR, also nice enough to come by. Did I tell you what the hashtag...
We need work.
We
need work.
I wanted to give everybody on the show a chance to say something. This morning it was all about all the other storied personalities who have been on this frequency. The Q107 personalities and a lot of the Mix 107.3 personalities. And it was a lot of fun. It was, sort of what we do, a dog and pony show. But 30 years is a long time. I mentioned earlier today that there are people who listen to our show in 1990 who were born in 1990. They grew up, they went to school, they went to college, they dated, they got married, they had children of their own. and sadly, in some cases, perhaps have passed. I mean, entire lifetimes have been lived in these 30 years, and we don't take your listenership lightly. We want you to know that 107.3 is going away this evening at 7 o'clock. That'll be the final time this format is on this frequency. It's going to become, I guess, a contemporary Christian station. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Piped in on a satellite from Sacramento, California?
Which really is amazing when you think about it, and it's true. Only an act of God can make Jack Diamond leave Mix 107.3.
It did take
a literal act of God.
I told the people at K-Love, if I can pass the plate and take a little off the top, I would be more than happy to help them raise funds, because apparently that's what they're best at.
But Jack, you're Jewish.
That's exactly right. So I can't go to hell for skimming off the top, which is precisely, thank you so much.
And you don't think they like Jack. Wait till they hear about me.
Oh, Jimmy,
Jimmy
you have a boyfriend.
is Jewish and gay, okay? Come on.
Well,
EMF were the perfect...
I'm going to quarter Jew. We got to,
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
You mess around with everybody in the woodpile.
That's right.
Your people wandered 40 days and 40 nights and did everybody they met.
Yeah. And they were never alone,
No.
my people.
For God's sake.
I can stay. I'm a good Christian.
Oh, God. Aren't you now?
You know, over at the National Cathedral, it's about a mile from here, the holy water's boiling. Anyway.
It would be.
Before we talk about a few things on the show, and there are a few things that were pivotal moments that I would like to share with you, and they involve you. These are very specifically about you, those of you who are nice enough to listen to us every day, or listen to radio, period. I happen to love this medium. When I was a kid, lying in bed, listening to faraway stations, and thinking about the cities that these guys and these women, and there weren't many women in the business back then, were talking about, it fired up my imagination to travel. I wanted to see what Chicago and WLS were all about. WABC in New York I knew because my family is actually from New York. Then I heard the station CKLW in Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Whoa.
It sounded so exotic until I found out it was Detroit. I was so depressed. I went across that bridge thinking, oh my God, it's Canada. And it was more Detroit. Nothing against Detroit. It's just, you know what I'm saying? You think snow-capped mountains.
Jack, Mojo can't work forever. We might have to go to Detroit.
Would you tell your agent, please? They keep signing Mojo for these monster contracts. But listening to these great songs and these great personalities on the radio, this is just what I wanted to do all my life. And when I was very fortunate, my dad was a doctor. His name was Dr. Irving Fisher, and he had an office just over the D.C. line. And long story short, one day we were going into his office, and it was a Saturday, and his staff was there, and they were doing some paperwork and things, and he wanted to buy coffee and donuts. It was around the holidays. So we stopped, and right next door was WDON Radio. This was an AM daytime radio station owned by a gentleman named Don Dillard. And I always found it fascinating, this radio station right on Georgia Avenue in Wheaton was next to Dunkin' Donuts. So I asked my dad if I could go over and pop my head in. He said, sure, go ahead. I'll meet you over there. And I opened the door, and the owner's there. And he says, what can I do for you? And I said, I'm curious.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come in and take a look. And he brought me into what's called the production studio. It's a studio where you would put, it's a little hard to explain, but a commercial announcement or music on tape or doing some editing or writing for a specialized program you would do in the production studio. It's like our on-the-air studio, only it's not on the air. It's off the air. So he was putting Christmas Coke jingles onto what then looked like 8-track tapes. They were called carts. And this jingle was re-cueing on the tape, and he said, do me a favor, son, sit down here. When the little green light goes on, push it and let me know it's okay.
Yeah.
So I push this button, and this absolutely amazing, fully orchestrated, probably 150 voice choir comes out of the speakers, and I was sold. From that moment forward, I was going into radio. And I met a guy named Tom Cat Reeder, who was his morning man. Tom has since passed away, but he let me sit with him every Saturday morning.
Aww.
And he let me push buttons and pull records and get him coffee. And it just, it became part of my DNA. And at 16, when I went to Robert E. Perry High School, I got to go work at WINX, which was an AM radio station in Montgomery County. And it happened to be the radio station that everybody in my high school and a lot of people in Washington listened to. So this is all I've known. I mean, radio has been my career and my life professionally. And then off the air, the opportunities we've had to meet you, whether it's a charity function, a band gig, a New Year's Eve party. We've cried with you. We were here on September 11th. We've been here through the sniper shootings, through great successes, Super Bowl wins, Super Bowl losses. And we share all that with you. So I don't have an act. That's painfully apparent. What I do is I just talk with you, and you talk with me. And that's how this has worked for me for the past 30 years here, and since I was 16 years old in radio. And I am so grateful you had something to say, and were kind enough to listen to what I had to say. So thank you for that. Erica?
I've been thinking about it a lot the last few weeks, and you know how they say everybody who you take into your heart has a big impact on you.
Yes.
And it doesn't take blood for people to be family. And, you know, you guys are my family. And
Thank you.
you've each had a huge impact on me. I mean, I'm becoming more like Blair every day. I can't explain it.
Did you get our hashtag? Have you seen this?
Please.
Hire the JDMS.
Yeah, become like Blair.
I'm louder, I'm more blunt, I have no filter. We've become one. I have no idea what's happened. It's incredible. And, you know, I've had adventures with each of you, and Jimmy's like a brother to me. He comes in, he's a house guest at the Hillary Hilton, and we've had horrible things happen, like remember when we almost got kicked out of a restaurant because we couldn't do the currency conversion?
Dear
when
Lord,
we were
almost kicked out
traveling?
of a restaurant. Oh,
And we
please.
No, it was
First
bad.
world problem.
Well, we would have gotten kicked out of the country next because
Yeah,
it was a
in
foreign
Iceland, it
country.
was-
Oh,
where
wow.
we were taking
Yeah.
sliced paradise.
Where
people.
were we?
We were in Iceland. Eric and I were in a
God,
restaurant,
this is
and we
so
could
bad.
not determine if we owed $40 or $4,000.
For God's sake, you owed $40.
No,
you
it
did
was
know
actually,
$4,000.
it ended up being $4,000. Thank God. Thank God Eric has money.
Oh my God.
But
You couldn't help him figure this out? We know we can't do
I
math.
was crying. I thought, I don't have $4,000, and how are we getting home
And the
now?
truth is, I did say to Erica, after this, I'll buy you ice cream.
Ben, we're cleaning fish tonight. We'll be in the kitchen.
But then the best thing that happened that night, Jack Diamond taught me that nothing is impossible. Because I said, as we were roaming the streets of Iceland, I said, oh my God, there's this place I wanted to go so badly, and I've called and I've called and I've called, and it's months and months. And
Oh, the celebrity restaurant. Yeah, the
That's
celebrity
it.
chef restaurant.
And Jack pulls up like, he knows something I don't know, or whatever. And he said, I'll figure it out, honey. I'm thinking, oh, good luck, dude.
I don't think I said honey.
Probably. Yeah.
Did I say honey?
Cupcake, maybe.
Oh, I said cupcake. I called it.
Cupcake.
You said go sit in the corner and just be pretty. Is what you said. I like
Do
it.
your best.
Here, come to the door. Smile. I'll get us in.
Right? He goes in, and I'll be damned, shows up at the door 2 seconds later, just crooks his finger, worked his Jack magic, and there we went for, I would still say, the best meal of my
The
life.
best. Period and end.
The best.
Wasn't it the best?
Introduced me to port, I mean,
That did cost me $4,000, just so you know.
it was.
That conversion rate when you include the wine with it is
Right?
off the hook.
And you told me nothing's impossible. I
Nothing's
just thought,
impossible.
they said no, I took no for an answer. That's not Jack's way. So I learned that.
Jack says, act like you belong, and they'll allow you in.
Act like you belong.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great lesson because I don't believe anything is impossible.
I know you don't.
And you know, when we left for a year, you know, it seemed impossible. Unfortunately, you know, an experiment here at 107.3 put this thing on the bottom of the ocean. We literally had to raise the Titanic. We had to make it seaworthy. We had to get it underway. We had to get paying passengers on board. And you see, thank God, in the past 4 years, you guys came back. And I believed that you would, because I do believe everybody on this show and everybody on this radio station, Karina, our newest member, Seth Kokolani, all the great people, Dan Henning, the people who have worked here on this radio station recently and in the past years have huge hearts. Dan told you the story about his testicular cancer and shared that openly with you, and probably saved lives by being that real and telling those stories. So, Dan's here tonight. We love Dan. Everybody on this radio station, you have a story, and you've told us your story. Before I go to Jimmy and Blair, I want to mention that a number of years ago, and I mentioned listening, I got a phone call, and the producer at the time said to me, Jack, there's a guy you went to high school with on the phone. Do you want to talk with him? And I said, well, we're on the air. Can I call him back? So after the show, I could have just ditched it. I mean, it didn't seem important. A guy from high school called maybe to say hi or whatever, but I just felt obligated to call, and I did. And his son was very, very ill. In fact, terminally ill. Had been down at Duke Medical Center, and at Duke, they said, there's nothing more we can do for your son. You guys probably should go home, maybe call Make-A-Wish. Wonderful organization, and make final arrangements. And I said, well, how can I help? What possibly can I do? And he said, my son and I, his favorite memory is of us building a car together. We took a car, a Camaro, and we built it. He'd like to do that again before he passes and finish the project if at all possible. So I said, are you willing to tell your story on the air? Because I can tell it, but your voice, your story is far more powerful than my interpreting it. So he came on the air, and he told this story. And I said, listen, if anybody has a seat for a 68 Camaro, a dashboard, the radio, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We literally ran down the litany of parts in the 68 Camaro. And I'll be damned if the phone didn't ring and you didn't call with a chassis, with a transmission, with wheels, tires. This car was amazing. They took it on the road to car shows. And by the way, this young man who was supposed to have 6 weeks to live, now we're about 6 months into this, and he's still alive. And they're touring this car, and they're winning car show after car show. And they come back to Washington, D.C., and he met a girl along the way. I'm not sure if it was in Washington or on the road. They get married.
Yeah.
They have a child. And then he passes away. So, see, anything is possible if you believe. And the heart and soul you put into that story on this show, the Jack Diamond Morning Show, on this radio station, those of you who answered the call and gave it to us. Somebody put, I'm going to guess, a $20,000 paint job on this car. And when I saw this car, it was stunning. The point is, we listen to you as much as you listen to us. And for that, we are truly grateful. Blair?
I was out of radio before I came here. And you guys called me when I was living in Philadelphia. And shout out to Louis Diaz, our boss at the time.
Louis is the best.
He called me and said, what are you doing? And I was working at a casino in Philadelphia.
Now, see, this part of the story I just love. that Blair's two gigs after radio, she was the doho somewhere else.
I was a doho at a strip club.
At a strip club.
And I worked at a casino.
I want to apologize to EMF for that phrase being uttered on what will be their frequency soon. The doho at a gentleman's club.
That's the last time that a doho or a strip club will be mentioned on 107.3.
It's true. And I had worked in radio, obviously prior to that, but I was done because I just didn't have a passion for it anymore, I felt. And
well, you had some experiences that just wasn't popping for you, and people didn't kind of get you, and I know they weren't terribly grateful for your effort and your experience.
I was I was a hard worker, and just, a producer is a thankless job a lot of times, and you don't get the glory that, the other people do.
Listen,
because it's a lot of behind the scenes.
We talked about that this morning. We get to take the bow for others' hard work, and it is hard to be a producer, whether it's in television or radio or in any. If you're the one producing a fundraiser, the headliner gets to take the bow. All they did was show up for an hour and sing. Meanwhile, people work behind the scenes for months or a year. So I understand that. So you left radio and went.
I left because of that, and when I got the call, it took me a hot minute to think about it. And like I said, I was in Philadelphia, my hometown, and man, did I want to leave? and come to Washington?
If you were in Philadelphia, you wanted to leave and come to Washington. I got to tell you.
No,
Come on.
That's more than fair.
I didn't know, but I came here, and you guys accepted me for me, as crazy as I am, as crass as I am, as horribly perverted as I am.
May I say, she filled every one of our job requirements, so that's why we hired her. She was perfect for the Jack
I
Diamond.
apologize again.
I don't think you'll be producing for EMS.
No, definitely not.
K Love is not in your future, but Big Love was, apparently.
But I just want to say that I never came here thinking that you guys would be my family.
We are.
And
We
I've
are.
shared everything with you, and I got a new family member here. I adopted my cat here, and she will be with me forever, and that's very special to me. Jimmy's rolling his eyes.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, no, Blair, the cat, found Blair. It was a very sweet and touching moment.
He
And,
hijacked the cat. is what
I stole the
happened.
cat.
the cat came to Blair's home because the owners hadn't been looking after the cat, and the cat knew Blair would. And you guys know the stories about Blair's dog Wilson and how much Blair loves Wilson. How Jimmy and the sound effects. That's something else you won't hear on K-Lo.
That's my puss puss. That's
Wow.
her name. Puss
You won't
puss.
hear that either on Caleb.
That's her name.
Did you know? You won't hear that either.
my
There's no doubt.
But
You have made a difference in our show, and you brought a great spark and a great deal of energy and unpredictability, which is, but I love that.
Yeah.
We had somebody on the show once upon a time, and I love the guy, and actually I'm really close friends with him now. But there's a saying on the air, especially on an ensemble show, and Erica knows this from doing the Groundlings in Chicago. In improv, there's no such thing as nothing.
Don't deny somebody's reality.
There's no such thing as nothing. So, we kind of go around the room, we're telling a story, or, we're talking with you on the phone, and I went to this guy, and he goes, I don't have anything.
Got nothing for
I
you.
got nothing. I said, what?
that's not
I'm
an
sorry?
option.
What?
Yeah.
You have nothing?
You can't do
So
that.
Blair brings anything and everything. And it
Way too
was
much.
such a pleasure because you can work with something.
Yeah.
You can't work with nothing. By the way, I want to say Erica has brought so much heart to our show and some dignity and, some tears. Erica wears her emotions on her sleeve, but I like that because it's something. And, the stories that we've told about the things that we've all gone through, marriages and divorces and life and death, sadly, we all go through. And those are real. Those stories aren't made up.
Oh, shoot. I was hoping it wasn't real. I was hoping I wake up tomorrow. What?
He's in the glass enclosed nurse syndrome. Thank God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not that one, the first one. No.
Oh, the first one. Oh, he's in Jamaica. Would you marry and divorce me? Your husband's doing extremely well.
I know.
But thank you for that. You have, and it's been so much fun. This is our second go-round together, too.
Yeah.
We really are a family, and we're blessed. Jimmy and I have been together for 23 years. 23 years. And other than Lisa Ann, Jimmy is my longest-term relationship of my entire life. And actually, I say that with a great deal of pride. I don't think Jimmy and I have ever had an honest-to-God fight.
No.
We've had probably 2 disagreements, 2 arguments maybe, in the entire time we've worked together.
And it,
2!
And it shows you what type of person you are to admit both times you were wrong.
The hell I
Say, I'm going to tip my hat to you, my friend.
did. My son Connor is in the other room shaking his head going, he didn't admit he was wrong. No.
So I hope you don't mind me.
No, I
starting
want you to talk to me about something because for 23 years, and I know you as well as anyone does, and I know the moments that you and I have both been brought to tears, and Jimmy's not a crier and he's not a hugger. He says, I'm a Republican.
Don't say that anymore. I'll be kicked out of the gay club.
But in these 23 years for you, I know the story that I told a few minutes ago is one of them. Putting Barbara together with the child she put up for adoption.
Do you mind if I say, so Jack was adopted, and you've been very open about that, and how lucky, I like to say, that you and your wife, your sister Pam, won the lottery parents with a jackpot.
Oh, no question
with your parents.
My adoptive parents.
And Jack has not been able to find his family, but what kind of guy is Jack Diamond? Jack Diamond's the type of guy that when someone calls in and says, I have a daughter in Buffalo who I never, after I gave her up for adoption, I don't know her. I can't get a hold of her. and want her in my life. What kind of guy is Jack Diamond? Jack Diamond's the type of guy who calls a radio personality in Buffalo and says, hey, is there any way that we can go on the air there? And because of Jack Diamond, Barbara Gill, who lives in Annapolis, Maryland, has had a continuous relationship with her daughter and her grandchildren. Why? Because that's the kind of guy Jack Diamond is. Jack Diamond hears a story about Maddie Stepanek, this local kid who reads poetry. And I'm sure if you'd have said to me, this kid writes poems, I'd be like, oh, okay, good for him.
Jimmy rolled his eyes.
Yeah,
He rolled his eyes.
And then he said, no, there's something special there. And he contacted Maddie, contacted Dr. Jenny Stepanek, who was here with us earlier this morning. And that day, little Maddie, who got a website that day, who later Oprah called one of her favorite guests ever in her history of her career. Jimmy Carter, the President of the United States, became very close friends with him. And when he passed away, we were at that funeral. And we're there, and Oprah spoke, and then Jimmy Carter gave the eulogy. You know it's a big funeral when Oprah is not giving the eulogy. And Maddie Stepanek meant so much to all of us. How many people have you ever heard that have walked this earth that is up to be a saint? That they want, that is in talk to the Catholic Church to make him a saint.
He will probably be canonized, and sooner than later. I mean, it is pretty remarkable. That K-Love liked. We're back in.
We're back in.
Yeah, we're back in.
But why?
But no, that's
because Jack Diamond.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Did that.
That's very kind of you.
And I'm sure.
But it's us.
Well,
it's us.
And it's everybody here in the staff. But we need a leader. And I'm just going to share a personal story for me. So I moved here when I was 23 years old. And I, at that time, dated women.
A lot of women made mistakes.
Yeah,
I mean, he's very charming. How would you know?
Please, a lot
he's
of guys,
debonair. You eat well.
Please, guys made mistakes too. But then, something happened. I was out.
The disco era broke out.
I know the song.
I'm coming out.
I know.
And I was outed. And I have to tell you, this is 2007. I was so humiliated. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to know it. I wanted to leave. And Jack will remember this. I asked him to meet me on a Sunday, and he and Lisa and Connor met me at one of their favorite restaurants. And when we went there, I told him, and it was hard. It was hard for me to look at him and admit it. And I even worded it this way. I said, you know how some men drink beer? And he goes, yeah. And I said, some men like wine. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, and some might want a pina colada every once in a while. Well, that was me.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and I had tears in my eyes because it was just so much stuff I didn't want to admit. And I said, I don't know if I can go back to work. What do I say to him? And Jack looked at me and said, Jimmy, everybody there loves you. If they don't, forget them.
That's not exactly what I said. I said if they liked you before and they find out this about you and they don't like you, they weren't your friends to begin with, so...
And he
that's
was
exactly
right.
what I said.
And for that gift, and every insecurity I had about it, every deep emotional issue I had with it was lifted off my shoulders because of Jack Diamond.
Wow.
And that's why.
My honor, my friend.
Well, and it's been my honor to work with you. And to think of the millions of dollars that we've helped raise, and you've helped us, and races and runs and New Year's Eve parties and thousands of people here for Free for All Friday. You know when you get up in the morning and you enjoy getting up, and we wake up at a horrible, horrible hour.
A little better with this contract. It's not as good as the old contract, but it started at 6, not 5:30.
That was
Was that not worth something?
Yep. You make it happen again. Nothing's
Please,
impossible,
nothing's
JD.
impossible.
So the next show will be like Stern 37. But anyway, I just can't thank you enough for the gifts that you gave me. My life is better because Jack Diamond is in it.
Thank you, Jimmy. As
and
is
I
mine.
love you with all my heart.
As I do you. We're going to go get a room, and...
Really?
You already have.
I just got to tell you, I put out.
I do not. Recently, in the last 20 years. Do we need to do this and then come back? Or I forgot to ask you if we are still running these or not. Are we done with this?
Yeah, I don't think there's...
No, there's nothing around.
There's nothing? Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's all you, baby.
Listen, half an hour away, Mix 107.3 ends its 30-year run here in Washington, D.C. If you're just tuning in, Facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show. If you want to check out the live video, of course, it will be posted, and it will start over again at the beginning if you'd like to watch from the beginning, this last hour of our show. I do want to thank Gary Pizzotti, Mike McVeigh. These are a couple of people who I met with before we brought Mix 107.3 back, because for a year they tried this experiment. And, you know, listen, the owners at that time, I guess a couple of guys who were running the station had this idea, and they tried it here and nationally, and, you know, things didn't quite work out, I guess is the way somebody hoped. And Gary and McVeigh were nice enough to sit down with me and talk with me. Mary Berner, our CEO, is amazing. There aren't many women in her position in this business, and I happen to love her. I know she sold our property, but I do understand the business behind it. What breaks my heart is a lot of incredibly good people will lose their job over this, and that's, I know, for Mary, for the board, for everybody in this business. It's heartbreaking, but it doesn't just happen in radio. Car dealerships are sold, or buildings, or cruise lines, and, you know, somebody takes over with a new idea. So it's not just us. And I don't want you to think that we're unduly whining or crying. We haven't, and we won't, because it is business. Now, will the Jack Diamond Morning Show continue? That's kind of up to you, I'll be honest with you. Did I tell you what the hashtag is?
We need work.
Actually, I need to change this to hire the JDMS.
Yes.
The JDMS.
And there are some people, because today is the last day, and we've known for about 30 days that this would be the day. An awful lot of people could have just booked and not shown up. Yeah. They didn't. They came into work. They worked hard. They are still working hard. In fact, Lisa, turn your camera around. These are just some of the amazing people we work with. Kokolani's over here. These people are still here at 6:30 at night. If you, ladies, come over here to the window outside the studio, and here's Alitra. These are people who are not getting paid right now, who are simply here because they give a damn about this radio station, they give a damn about the show, and they give a damn about you. And they always have. And it takes nothing away from anybody who works at another station, because they care too. They work hard into the night. So let me just run down a quick list here. Do you mind? Of some of the people I don't...
Sorry.
Erica is drinking.
How is the Dom? It does age nicely in the bottle.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. Please, your
list.
list.
I was looking forward to a hit on that too.
Your list.
So when I got here, Lauren PlJ was the program director. This is a teeny bit of radio geekdom, but some of these people you know. Mike Moore was my first partner, along with Barbara Britt, who did news. And Barbara was on the show earlier today. Again, if you go to Facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show, and see, the station social media goes away.
Yes,
there's no sense in me telling you to go there, because it's gone. But feel free to go there. Everything over the weekend or Monday will be up at jackdiamond.com. If you'd like to follow us, I'll have everybody's social media up there for you. Make it very easy to find. But those are the guys that I began with. And then Bert, who I worked with in San Diego, Bert was wandering the halls one day, and he had been doing sports for free on the AM station to our FM.
Wow.
And they decided to simulcast, which means put the programming that was on our FM on our AM, so Bert was out of a gig. Oh. And he said, can I come in and do anything on your show? I said, sure. What would you like to do? He said, pull carts, which means pull commercials, or make coffee or something. I said, okay. So he had a real wise-ass personality like Blair, and I liked him. So I said, why don't you stand in front of that microphone? He said, well, what do I do? I said, if something comes to mind, just say it. And he said, well, what if I say something stupid? And I said, perfect. Really, literally perfect, please. And we formed a partnership that lasted a number of years and had a great time together. And listen, like all little brothers, it's eventually time to leave and go off on your own.
Hey, don't say that so fast. What the hell are you talking about?
You and I are stuck together. Spanky, who was in earlier today, just a great guy, also very early on our show, and just a sweetheart of a guy. Chuck Sapienza was one of our producers, and Chuck worked for Dan Snyder for a number of years, so you know this guy's a saint. I mean, an absolute dyed-in-the-wool saint, and he was one of our producers. Someone asked me earlier, and we mentioned her, I would love to have been able to put together a retrospective of Stacey Binn's odes. Unfortunately, when we left, for the year we left, they wiped the servers. And, we took up a lot of space, I guess, on the servers with, Paul McCartney interviews with presidents, odes from Stacey, and sadly, I don't know, probably the first 15 years of those interviews and those shows are gone. You would have loved Stacey.
Really?
I mean, off the hook, loved her.
You would have driven her crazy. You would have
She would have
Stacey
said, stay out of my space. And you would have gone, it's my space. And she would have gone, let's go get a drink. She did some brilliant odes. She had an incredible way with words and was just, again, one of those larger-than-life personalities who Jimmy and I were blessed to work with. And you worked with her as well, just a sweetheart of a person.
Lovely.
And, I mean, as wild as they come. Just a wild
She was what they would call a dame.
She was a dame. She was from L.A., and she was in a couple of movies out there.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'll post. I did find a couple of pictures,
Was
Jimmy.
it To Live and Die in L.A.?
Yeah, that's
that
one of
you
them.
hear the traffic report, and it's Stacey.
And we still miss Stacey and wish she could be with us today. A guy we call Danger Dave Corrigan, who one of our general managers didn't like and sadly made the poor guy's life miserable. And he went on to become the #1 personality in Salt Lake City.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank
So
God
apparently
he
he
did.
had something.
Thank God he did. I replaced him. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and I loved him. Dave's a great guy. Frankie is his name. Then Jimmy came into our show right at that point.
Wow.
And so that was sort of the history pre-Jimmy. And then, of course, Jimmy and I had an immediate affinity and affection for each other. I'm in the program director's office, and Jimmy walks in a sport jacket with
blue blazer, gold
blue
buttons.
blazer. Well, with the gold buttons and penny loafers,
Of course.
with quarters in the penny loafers.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell is this?
Please.
Did you have a bow tie on?
That guy sounds like he has class to me.
And everybody else has got jeans on and a Highway to Hell T-shirt, and I'm just like,
This guy.
really? And I talked with him for a few minutes, and I thought, I said to you, Jimmy, this is going to be fun. And he fit in perfectly, and it was absolutely a wonderful new facet to our show. And in my life, the first baby that Jimmy ever held was Connor. There's Connor right in there. Now 18 years old. Has it brought you? Well, you got a dog, so you're halfway there.
Well,
So 18 years from now, I'll be very old, and I had my first child.
The lovely Chili Amar joined us. You heard Chili earlier on the show today. Chili won that bottle in a little game we played of Dom, and then brought it in to share with us today. We really so appreciate that. And spent so many years with Chili, and Chili is one of those, along with Erica, we travel all over the world with you guys. Iceland, England, Scotland, I'm sorry?
The islands.
The islands.
Grand Cayman, I remember
Grand
we were there.
Cayman,
The Bahamas,
cruises.
Aruba. We opened Atlantis. Remember, we took listeners to
opened
Atlantis when it first opened.
Cindy McGuire, who is one of our producers and one of our air personalities, just a really sweet and lovely person. She, Jimmy and I, we playfully bust each other's chops all the time. And we do it all the time.
All the time.
And I will text something to Jimmy, to get a rise out of him playfully, and he'll text something right back to me. And then we do it to each other on the air, and we do it off the air and in the hall. It's just big brother, little brother relationship. So we would occasionally playfully say something to Cindy, who worked in a studio across from us. And we knew that we'd gone too far if she would stare at her computer screen and not look at us the rest of the show. I don't care if we had guests coming on. I don't care if Bill Clinton was on the phone. Cindy wasn't talking to us.
No eye contact.
Hey, y'all.
No, stop. She doesn't sound at all like that. She may be from West Virginia, but she doesn't.
She was like Rose from the Golden Girls, like, here we go,
You
Rose.
see, now she's not looking. She's looking at the computer. I
giving
will
it-
never get her back.
She's giving the radio the finger.
Cindy, you're a sweetheart. Thank
love
you very
Cindy.
much for
Wonderful
everything.
person.
Phone girl Layla, who was here earlier today. I met Layla in the hall, and I thought, this girl's got a hell of a personality. She's just a firecracker. So we twisted our general manager's arm to hire somebody else. We had 9 people on the show at one time.
way.
9 full-time people. And she answered the phones, and I knew if I could get her at least in one of these 2 studios, eventually we could put her on the air. And we did. And wasn't she just brilliant?
She's a trip.
Brilliantly
Yes.
trippy. So Phone Girl Layla became a part of our show, and then we hired an executive producer named Jeff Shamrock, and the two of them shared that studio.
Well,
and things go as they will, and they got married and they just had a baby. So congratulations to them.
Story.
One of the best air personalities I've ever heard work solo, and she hates me for saying this, but it's one of the hardest things to do. Is called transcending the medium, where you're on the air by yourself talking one-on-one to a listener, and that listener knows and feels in their heart and in their mind that you're talking to them. Specifically, Amy Page can do that as well or better than anybody I've ever worked with. And she was very funny on our show as well, and spent a couple of months with us, and then did middays here on Mix to extraordinary ratings.
Yeah.
I mean, extraordinary ratings. And she is happily ensconced with her husband David and their wonderful family in Nashville, not far from my daughter Rachel lives. So Amy was a truly memorable one.
You know, she works right before Bobby Bones in Bobby Bones' studio.
Really?
Yep. She does middays right before him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're here.
You know how I feel about that piped-in radio stuff.
Yeah. I say in Nashville. She's with
I
him.
like Bobby. He's a nice guy.
Talent. Nice
and I can't dance, so you know what, Bobby, you got it on me.
True.
But everything else... Erica joined us. Do you remember the year you joined us the first time around?
2005.
2005.
Wow.
I'm trying to make sure. Jimmy and I were trying to put together sort of our chronology here.
Yeah.
Bilingual Allie, another intern. She went to American University. She was here earlier today, and you can see her in some pictures and some video. And Allie was another just larger-than-life personality. She had no filter whatsoever. She was sort of like Bert back in the day. She would say anything. And if you asked her any sort of question, she would give you the most honest answer.
Sure.
And it was magical. It was absolutely magical. So thank you so much to Allie Jacobs. Her father, Mike, and I became close friends. Jimmy was friends with him as well. He left his Wall Street job to follow his dream of being a stand-up comedian. Now, who the hell leaves a seven-figure job in New York on Wall Street, leaves it to go out and stand up at the Improv and take a shot on open mic night? Mike not only did, he had a brilliant act. I'm not sure how and the whys of how he wrote material, but Allie, be proud of your dad. I will tell you, he knocked my socks off and impressed me in huge ways, and we've had every comedian in the history of comedy on the show. Mike was a special guy, and he was on the show a few times, and...
Yeah, what's beautiful is he passed away, and she named her second son. His name was Mike Jacobs, and he is Jacob Michael. And I just love that.
It's just see, that's why these are real people. These are not just disc jockeys and radio personalities and news people and people working promotions and marketing. These are real human beings, and they work their tail off for you. We needed somebody to help us with social media and all the other things that sort of pull the show together, because none of us were paying attention to that sort of thing. The show, again, it was chaotic. There were 8 or 9 people here, and I found this kid in Pennsylvania named Tommy, and he wanted to call himself Tommy McFly. And I said, Tommy is great, but McFly, it sounds, like Venus Flytrap on WKRP. And he said, no, that's my name. I said, okay, come to Washington and help us out. And he did, and he did a great job. It's funny because I would ask Tommy to put together some pictures and a montage to post on social media, and every single one of them had Tommy in it. I just, listen, you got to do what you got to do. He's a sweetheart of a guy.
I liked our first lunch at Old Anglers where he acted like he'd never... It was like, this place is awesome. Like nobody had ever... It was just like, all right, buddy.
And when others go off to compete against us, there are no hard feelings. And I know sometimes you hear stuff, and I know not everybody who's worked here has been happy, or has the nicest things necessarily to say. I will tell you that from our standpoint, we love every one of these people on this list and respect them so much. Brooke Ryan joined us for a time.
No, don't speak for me. But okay, okay.
Wow.
Okay, but anyway, go ahead. Brooke Ryan, lovely. I like her very much. She was very funny.
Now, be nice.
I'm being nice.
You're such a gentleman.
I am being nice. I love Brooke. Brooke was funny. She could drink Blair right under the table.
What? Let's try.
Brooke could. By the way, Brooke could. Brooke drank Chris Plan under the table. That ain't easy to do.
Wow.
But Brooke is back in Charleston, a successful radio personality there. So those were the people who joined us up until, the great experiment that some of you remember from 5 years ago. And then we came back 4 years ago. Yeah. Lisa Ann joined our show to help us with social media and video, audio, to assist all the things that Blair does with those things in social media. And Lisa taught herself how to edit video and does an amazing job of it. And thank you very much, Lisa. And I couldn't do this without you. And I appreciate personally your love and support more than you'll ever know. Oliver Mertz was our video editor before. And if you go to YouTube and you look for Jack Diamond Radio on YouTube, you'll see some brilliant work from Oliver, who shot and put together videos. And this guy was
good.
I mean, we would be on stage at a band gig, and it was 150 degrees, and I mean, people are falling off the stage. Oliver is still there with that camera in his hand, shooting away, and then he'd come back and he'd edit it. So he led the way, and Lisa Ann picked it up and continues to carry it. And I am grateful for being able to preserve these moments with you guys. And then, of course, Blair joined us, and that's really. Did we miss anybody? I think that's the entire roster.
Alitra helped us out for a lot for Free for All Fridays.
Well, John Martin we mentioned earlier. I mean, there are a lot of other people who I would love to thank, but and I have personally, and if I had the opportunity to share airtime with every one of them, they certainly deserve it because they've done a hell of a job making this radio station work, from our engineering department to sales to the people who work in accounting.
Andrea.
Andrea is a sweetheart. That's kind of a thankless job as well. I'll be honest with you. When you work in promotions and marketing, it is
always a smile.
Busting.
Yeah.
And if prizes don't come in or tickets or a show's canceled, it breaks our heart because then we have to call you or write to you and go, well, we have tickets for another show. So thank you to everybody who has worked on the show. Our program directors, the very first one I worked with when I came here in 1990 was Lauren PlJ, who is a great guy and a really interesting guy, and he's the one who made the transition from Q107 to Mix 107.3. Wow. And in the interim, there was Steve Cosbaugh, who is an incredibly talented guy.
The best.
I don't know anybody who interprets research better. He and a friend of mine named Mike Shep out in California are the two best at interpreting research and putting an amazing radio product together. Cool Kenny King.
KK.
I love Kenny. He was one of our program directors. Had a great time with them. There haven't been many. They've stayed a long time.
Best head of hair in the radio.
Great looking guy. Best looking guy on the staff. Louis Diaz, Rob Roberts, who we just love. By the way, Rob also, let me hold the sign up for Rob.
Rob losing his job too.
Yeah.
We don't word it that way, Blair.
Well, he's in our pool.
Just say his work is available. His employment is...
Hashtag we need work.
And one guy that I'm not going to mention by name specifically, and this is really, in every radio station, as I said, you have a cast of characters. And, one of the guys who was one of our program directors during this time when I told you it was chaotic, tonight on Dateline, the program director who robbed a bank.
Yeah.
Whoa, this guy.
I can't believe this
Oh my God,
story.
this is the best story
It's
ever.
If you go to jackdiamond.com or facebook.com/Jack Diamond Show, I may tell you the story.
It's the best.
Did he get caught?
Yes. But
did he get caught?
He may be out, and so I will say he's a very handsome man. He was handsome.
On the loose.
He had some damn nice furniture in his house, too, from Pottery Barn. And
wow. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I told everybody on the show that before we end right at 7 o'clock, if there's a song that they would like to play all over a little piece of, something important or meaningful to them, that we would give them an opportunity to go ahead and roll a little piece of that song, or maybe the whole song. Who would like to start here? Jamie, do you want to start?
Well, this
or do
is
you
that
have
song.
pieces?
This is Blair. Blair wanted this, and this is a song, and it's the instrumental to it. But it seems like Led Zeppelin was the best sound for Blair. Led Zeppelin, when she would go someplace and she would have a problem with people.
There would be chaos, you're saying?
Like, here,
What do you mean? I'm going to kick your ass.
Oh, no.
Wow. Well, folks, and Kay Lover, look at the clock going. Is it 7 yet?
Yeah.
You know, when you do this sort of thing, it's called flushing the format, where you get to sort of just play any song you want to. And every radio personality wants on their final day to play Highway to Hell by AC/DC or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's not in the format.
Right.
And, you know, everybody goes, what are I going to do, fire me?
Right.
So, Jimmy, did you pick one for yourself?
I have it. Do you want to go to Erica? And then
Okay, sure.
Oh, I like that. Let's go, in that vein, we could go Sympathy for the Devil.
Oh, nice.
I have to get that. Oh, you want me to get
Oh, no, don't get it.
Well, you
Don't
can
get it
if
for
you
that.
can.
Don't.
How do
And if you
spell
can,
You only got 9 minutes.
how do you spell sympathy? S-Y.
Perfect.
He
You
doesn't,
know what? That was
for
worth
gosh
it.
sake.
That was worth it. That's good. No.
No.
We have a music library of about 20,000 songs,
Yeah,
and
we know.
I
Yeah.
don't, you know.
Hopefully this will be...
Did you find it?
I have to take the survey on YouTube. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Okay. Here we go.
That is real.
And that's our show.
You know, right now, somewhere in Atlanta behind a giant hardwood desk, Mary Berner just said, we made the right decision to sell it.
Cheers, everybody.
What are you playing? Oh, there it is. You know how long the song is, don't you?
I have no
Yeah, we're
idea.
gonna get
Just
to the
play a
chorus. Yeah, just
Chorus. I've been around for a long, long year. Stole many a man's soul of faith. I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain.
That's for Caleb.
Made damn sure the pilot washed his hands and sealed his face.
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
A great piece of music.
Hope you guess my name.
It's been a long time since a song was played on this radio station.
crank it.
I'm trying to remember if this version has anything that could...
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, it kind of does still matter.
You know, it's funny, Jack. Now, and we should say the radio station's going away not because ratings are great. The station's making tons of cash, but
That's true.
a Christian broadcasting group had I almost said a very big ton of cash, and they bought several of Cumulus broadcasting stations at over $100 million.
106 million, I think it's up to now. The deal. Just so you know, as Jimmy said, you know, and I'm not going to read the ratings. I'm just going to let you know that you guys made us the #1 contemporary music morning show in Washington, D.C. again this week. Last week, thank you. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And I'm not going to, because everybody else at the stations behind us, and there are some great stations in front of us, you know, like, well, you can guess TOP and AMU and a couple of the great urban stations like HUR and MMJ, and then there's the Jack Diamond Morning Show right after that, morning shows. So I'm going to play a song for you, Jimmy, unless you have one.
You go.
And this is a song that I have played. Now, I haven't played this in 30 years because I haven't, other than leaving the station for a year, and I went to Chicago, very fortunately, to work at WLS-FM, which is a great radio station in our company, and had a wonderful year in Chicago, missed Washington, and grateful that they saw the light to bring us back. But this song touched me when I started this hour, and I said, when I was a kid, and I would lie awake in bed at night, and there would be songs on the radio that would touch me or reach me, and the personalities who played them, the songs, I don't know, they sounded great coming from 1,000 or 2,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And whether it was WABC or WLSAM or CKLW, they just, they touched me. And I wanted to do this for a living, and it's really how I got into the business. I could have picked something like Midnight Confessions by the Grassroots, or I'd Wait a Million Years. Those are a couple of songs that just sounded so great on those radio stations. But, you know, when you think about the moments of your life and the people in your life, I hope that you understand what the word cherish means, that you cherish those people and those moments, because in all of our lives, we've suffered the death of somebody that we love. We have been exalted and exhilarated by the birth of a new family member. And, there's that poem, What's in Your Dash, between your birth date and the date you pass. And I think the more days you spend cherishing your life and the people in your life, the better off you are. So here's my little pick to play for you. And I have played this my last day literally on every radio station since I was 16 years old. And I think it's a beautiful piece of music. It is by a group called The Association, and it's called Cherish.
Cherish you. Cherishes the
And I want you to know that I do, in fact, cherish you and appreciate you listening every single day for the past 30 years to the Jack Diamond Morning Show and all the great personalities on Mix 107.3. It means the world to us, and we have enjoyed occupying 4400 Jennifer Street and 107.3 in Washington, D.C., more than I'll ever be able to share with you. My kids were born here. My kids were raised here. Yours were. I mean, we've lived a life here with you. So we thank you so very much. I just want to remind you again of the...
Please.
We knew her. And the hashtag is hire the JDMS.
Yes.
Thanks again to...
it's not time to take the wheel, Jesus. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
We still have 8 seconds.
Sorry,
just enough time for me to say this is WRQX Washington, a proud Cumulus radio station.
Jack Diamond is forever. It's better of you.
Hope ignited. Lives changed. Hearts united. Positive. Encouraging. 107.3